After seeing episode 1 of Foundation, there is a non 0% chance that I will watch episode 2. It's actually a very high percentage. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm here to talk to you about Foundation Season 1, Episode 1, The Emperor's Peace, which is coming to Apple TV Plus on September 24th, 2021. So this is an Apple TV Plus adaptation of Isaac Asimov's novels, and spoiler alert, I think the first episode is really good. I'm going to go into a little bit about the episode, just very briefly, and then talk to you about a few things I liked, a few things I didn't really love, and then, that's about it. I'm not going to go into many spoilers for the TV episode. You can watch it yourself. It's only 68 minutes long, so it's a good sized episode, and it gives you a lot of information, but it's not like a whole movie. So in the first episode of Foundation, we are introduced to Gail, who's played by Lou LaBelle, and she is a mysterious math genius from apparently an outworld planet. So in Foundation, you've got it's called the Galactic Empire, which I guess maybe Star Wars is based on them. I assume that Star Wars was the second one. The Galactic Empire rules a whole host of planets, a very large, I guess probably galaxy number of planets. It seems like it's so big that at the edges of the empire, there's unrest, there's rebellion. In the middle, where a lot of this episode takes place, it's fairly peaceful. But as you get farther out, the reach of the empire doesn't get as strong, and there's a little bit more unraveling. And so Gail is, I think, from one of these kind of outworld planets, and she wins a contest and gets to come to the center of the empire, the capital of the empire, to study under a math genius named Harry, who's played by Jared Harris. And so the episode is kind of about her acclimating to this, because she's only lived in this kind of remote, not very high-tech world, and now she's coming into the kind of the center of the universe. I'm trying to think of a non-offensive way to describe it in Earth terms, but just say you've never been to New York and you're going to New York for the first time, you'd be pretty much in awe, unless you came from like Tokyo. But in any event, so the first episode is a lot about Gail getting used to this, kind of figuring out her place in this hierarchy, and also just introducing herself and meeting her mentor, teacher, Harry. So I'm going to go into a few things I like. So the first thing I really loved about this series is the cast, and the cast was kind of a surprise for me. It has a lot of characters that I really liked. I really liked Jared Harris, who plays Harry, and Lou LaBelle, who plays Gail, because they were a lot of fun. Harry is this kind of math genius who is, because of some of his calculations and some of the algorithms that he has learned, is kind of predicting some things that the establishment doesn't really like. But he is convinced because he's done the math. I guess he's run the numbers. He knows what he's saying. So it's interesting because they make him out as a political person, but he's not political. He has the answer and is kind of trying to spread that information. And it's really interesting to see this kind of rebellion or unrest based on math, because it's fun because you can kind of get to, like, you can have people who are certain because they've run the numbers. So it's an interesting way to kind of frame the potential unrest in this series. And then you also have, so the emperors themselves, of the emperors of the this Galactic Empire, are three clones of the original empire at different ages. So it seems like they teach each other as they get older, and then they make a new clone and kind of complete the cycle. So you've got Brother Don, who's the youngest. He's like a young kid. I can't tell how old he is, maybe like 10. Then you have Brother Day, who's played by Lee Pace, who is just fantastic. He seems kind of like the strongest of the characters because he's kind of in his prime. He is trying to run the empire, but also prepare Brother Dawn for his future ruling. And then you have Brother Dusk, who's the older one. He doesn't actually get a ton of air, doesn't get a ton to say, but when he does come up, it's pretty interesting. He kind of has this important moment later in the episode where it's kind of a surprise. Like he stands up and speaks, and it's kind of a surprise. But they all play very interesting characters, and that everything is, the acting in this series, it's very dramatic and deliberate. And it can, I could see it maybe being a little bit of a turnoff, but I actually really liked it. I thought it was interesting. It made everything feel a little bit more substantial. Made everything feel a little bit more dramatic. And so I really enjoyed that, and enjoyed that the actors kind of the actors kind of gave themselves to this and performed in this way. The second thing I really loved are the effects. It's a sci-fi film, or it's a sci-fi series, so the effects have to be good, and the effects in this series were very good. There were a few small, very noticeable CG aspects, but for the most part, you have a really smart use of CG, and I assume really good sets, because the other worlds, they're, I think, assume they're all filmed on places in Earth, right? I mean, maybe sound stages, but it seems like everything looks like some sort of Earth equivalent. But they do a really good job of making them feel like very distinct worlds. You got like there's one outer rim planet that is a little bit more hostile, a little bit more I guess snow-capped almost. It looks not Hoth levels, but it looks similar to that. But the effects are really good, especially because you have some very advanced technology that is portrayed, and it does a really good job of kind of making you lose yourself in this very advanced technological world that has a ton of effects. Like there must be a lot of effects, either in the characters or in the actual environments, but they do a really good job of making it feel seamless and making it a very high quality experience. The third thing I really liked is the sense of mystery. This episode, and maybe this is how the series will be, but this episode specifically, it doesn't reveal anything quickly. Like there was one scene at the start where Gale is holding these kinds of rocks, that you can't really tell what they are. And you don't find out what that actually is until way later in the episode. I liked that. I liked that sense of mystery, because when I saw that, I was like, that's weird that she has that. I have no idea what it is. And then later you find out what that was, and what that meaning was. And it feels like this episode has a lot of that. It doesn't reveal much to you. It goes very slowly and deliberately, and lets you kind of slowly get acclimated to the world, and learn more about what's going on in the predicament. And I really appreciate that. It really kind of kept my attention, and didn't, it didn't hold your hand, which was nice. It made you kind of go with it on a journey. And the fourth thing I really liked is, how relatable this was to our current situation. And I don't know if Asimov's novels are, either ahead of their time or just kind of predict some events, or if this was changed for our, to kind of adapt the original novels to kind of our current predicament. But there was some things that seemed very applicable to modern life. There was differences in class. There was a terrorist incident in the first episode, and they were dealing with things like climate change, and overextending yourself, and political unrest, and things that, even though it's in this future world galactic civilization, it felt like a lot of what was going on was relatable to now, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it made it at least interesting. The So the first thing I didn't like, and really there was nothing. I guess maybe if there was one thing I might say, the first episode's a little slow, but I actually didn't mind that. I liked learning about this, and I liked just being in this world. Like it's fun to kind of just experience a world and go slowly. It's nice to have a this is about the length of a short movie. So if this was a movie, it would be going much faster, because you'd have to learn more, and then have the overall conflict, and then resolve. This episode really feels like it takes its time, and it doesn't necessarily give you too much, and it makes you kind of thirsty for the next episode. So I started that off as a negative, but I didn't mind it, and maybe this is 5 positives. But anyway, that's Foundation Season 1, Episode 1. It comes to Apple TV Plus on September 24, 2021. I think it's really good. We'll see if it kind of continues this trend, and continues this pace, and we'll see what happens when more and more is revealed. But I really liked the first episode. I think I'm going to stick with it. This is someone described it to me as kind of Game of Thrones in space. I can see that. I haven't met the other, if there are other empires or other leaders that are that are vying for control. So I see the resemblance to Game of Thrones. Maybe later on it'll become more like that, but I'm just really enjoying it. It does feel like a kind of medieval meets sci-fi type world, because the empire itself is like steeped in tradition, and it has a lot of medieval imagery in it. and you've got the emperors, and you've got ambassadors coming to the capital and having, going before the emperors and pleading their case. And it does feel very medieval, very feudal in that respect. So I do kind of see the Game of Thrones in space aspect to it. But again, that it's a very interesting angle to take, and I really like it. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.